Hey everybody, watch this review with a look at Mojo, the Build-A-Figure from the Mojo Build-A-Figure series. Which might have been Toy Biz Series 14 or 15, I can't remember which. It's actually a pretty common Build-A-Figure. Oh, by the way, just because I have to do this with a base and I've got so much stuff behind here, I'm using Spiral to prop up the thing, and of course the Sentinel. Spiral actually can't really go it alone. Actually, it's a cool touch too, because Spiral's technically one of the henchmen. As far as Build-A-Figures go, this is probably the worst looking of the Build-A-Figures that Toy Biz put out. I mean, there's paint bleed all over the place. It doesn't really have much articulation, although the Modoc has like no articulation at all. I mean, it's just, the Modoc is basically a solid piece that can just move its arms and legs and so forth. I mean, it's basically the same deal here. As you'll notice, it's got some sort of weird matte effect, where it's like, it'll be like painted, and it's got like, the paint looks like it's kind of thin in places. I don't know why they did this, and you can see the brown underneath, except for in places like right here. You can see the brown just right there. It's like they didn't even get the paint in there. I mean, it's just horrendous. And then, of course, if you look at this, there's just bleed between all the coils and stuff. Bleed right here on the top with the button. I mean, this is just absolutely awful looking, but, you know, it's Mojo, so we should all be happy, because, you know, and there it is again. But yeah, I'm kind of annoyed that they didn't bother individually articulating the fingers or anything like they did in previous series, but fingers will move, wrist will only twist, so I'll just run through the articulation before I forget. There's really not much of it. Double jointed elbow, as you can see here, bicep joint, and of course an arm/shoulder joint, but it's not going to do you much because the sculpt is so extreme. Head can't move at all, obviously, but each of these legs will move a bit. I mean, they can kind of support the overall figure, but not a tremendous amount. Plus, I guess these look cooler as like an attacking thing. It's actually got like this little invisible base underneath, so it'll look like he's standing up on the legs, whereas in fact he's not. From behind, you'll see more bleed on the system. I mean, some of these wires, they didn't even bother painting the entire thing. It's like somebody would go through the trouble of collecting all, like, I think it was 8 figures in this one, 7 or 8 figures. And then after all that, you have just this paint which is all over here. It doesn't even go along up and down the whole coil. I mean, it's horrendous, but I mean, it's one of the cheapest Build-A-Figures. I got this for $15, including shipping and handling. Could have gotten him cheaper. Could have gotten him for like $12, including shipping and handling, but I missed the auction. He's got like little pictures of his face on the side of the dais. Actually, I probably should take it a little bit for granted that everybody should know who this guy is, just because I assume Mojo is like one of the big characters, but he comes from another universe, another dimension where, you know, Mojo world actually, where, you know, TV ratings and everything are essential for controlling the population and so forth, kind of like ancient Rome. And whereas a top-rated program will basically get you rulership in the entire dimension and so forth, it actually breaks the fourth wall quite a lot, because it talks about just what they, like in the comics and cartoons and so forth, they'll discuss like what people want to see and so forth. And it'll actually do a few really crappy spoofy things at times. It actually just represents another area which, you know, people in the comic industries and the arts and so forth predict, oh, our culture is going to go this way, so this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, which of course almost never happens. Then every now and again it looks like they're half right, 'cause, I mean, with reality TV and so forth, it does feel like TV's getting out of control. But even back when Mojo was first created, I mean, people had those sorts of concerns with television. Yeah, small edge, big figure. 1 second. Like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the entire Shadowrun series, which was a Super NES game in addition to being a pen and paper RPG back in the day, but I mean, their predictions were big business was basically run everything, whereas in reality, big business is basically bankrupt at this point, and that Japan was going to completely overtake us. Because back in the 80s, we thought, wow, Japan's like this big, scary force. Their economy is so much better than ours and so forth. And now, I mean, the yen is basically worthless and so forth. I mean, it's made resurgences every now and then, but I mean, they just couldn't be more off the mark. Because they analyze these trends, and I mean, their dire predictions very rarely come true, but Mojo's a pretty cool character. It's not a mutant or anything, but this little thing up here will shoot a special energy beams, and, well, not special energy beams, but it'll shoot lasers and all sorts of other additional effects, plus he's a pretty strong character, and the other arms are used for grappling. I don't know, he's a pretty good figure for a Build-A-Figure, I guess, but he really resembles the cartoon version of him that came out during the 90s too much. Although I guess you really can't do a ton with the figures, but if you put them side to side, I mean, the build is just identical. But all in all, you know, because he's only like 10 or 15 bucks, it's probably a pretty cool Build-A-Figure to pick up, even if you aren't even a huge fan of the character. Just because it's cool to have a few Build-A-Figures. Because they're usually just a bigger scale than normal figures and so forth. Of course, I mean, most people probably will like this character just because he's hilarious most of the time when you see him, even though he has annoying moments. But yeah, Mojo from the Mojo wave of the Marvel Legends.